Welcome back to Severe MMA, and today I'm joined by Danni McCormack, Bellator strawweight and fights out of SBG and Relentless Martial Arts in Mullingar. She's fighting Stéphanie Page next week at Bellator Dublin on February 25th. Danni, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me today.
Good, not too bad. You're lucky to get me on a Friday night this time.
Is that right? Why is that?
I shouldn't say Friday. You're probably not releasing it today.
Well, we won't be going out until a couple of days, but we are recording just a week out from Bellator Dublin now. Why am I getting in the way of watching the Late Late Show, or what's going on?
No, I'm usually in bed at 9:30, so I'll have to stretch it till 10 o'clock tonight.
All right, I won't keep you too long. So, Danni, I just wanted to start off by saying congratulations to you and to Alan on getting married. I know you recently got married since the last time I was talking to you, so congratulations on that. And how is married life treating you?
Thank you. Yeah, great. Sure. Married life is the exact same, only that I own half of the gym now, which is great, on paper. And I got a better second name as well. No one could say my name right. Well, no one on Severe MMA could say my surname right. So I just got that change done for you as well. So loads of positives from getting married.
Absolutely. Like we're only, I know poor Sean Sheen was only starting to get it right, and you're after going off and changing it again now. So you'd be having fits there trying to remember what the correct name to call you. But yeah, it must have been great I seen up on Instagram over in New York. There's some great celebrations over there. So it must have been a nice experience.
Yeah, it was class. Like the last fight in November, to be honest, like the last few weeks coming up to it, I kept saying I just can't wait for this fight to be over so I can get ready for the wedding. And I had a surgery straight after that fight, that like an elective surgery planned on my sinuses. And as soon as I got out of the surgery, I went back into a weight cut for the wedding to get into the dress. And it was just great, like looking forward to it and going over and having a week's holiday in New York and getting married around Christmas, and then came home and straight back into camp. So like timelines wise, even though we didn't plan it that way, it worked out perfect between the two fights.
Yeah, it was like the glitz and glamour of a wedding straight back in, then home for a fight camp. As some stark contrast between the two, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pity you couldn't have a wedding every week, but I don't think you'd get through much of a fight camp if you did.
No, I don't think so. Before we talk about this upcoming fight and maybe the fight camp itself, maybe we'll go back to Bellator 270 and your win against RG Karush. I mean, it was a really utterly dominating performance from yourself. Were you happy with the performance overall, or what's your assessment on that fight?
Like, I got it done and I got her finished, but like, honestly, I was not very happy with my performance, and I could have stopped her 10 different ways, and I probably went the most boring route I could have gone, which isn't me at all. Like, I hate a boring fight, and I felt myself getting sucked into a boring fight as she was holding on to me when I was on top of her. It was very irritating while I was there, but I couldn't seem to like transition into something else. But John and Alan were like giving me abuse in the corner between every round. They were like, "You're getting her out of here now this round, like don't come back to the corner again." And then after the second round, they're like, "Right, you have to get her out of here now. Like, do you understand?" Like, I was nearly afraid to go back to the corner in between. So yeah, like looking back, I could have done it 10 different ways, and that was the way it ended up. But sometimes when someone doesn't want to engage in trying to win and is trying not to lose, it looks like that too. So I'm very determined this fight next Friday is not going to look the same, because I had some like really class fights and exciting fights that I love looking back on, and that's not one I'm going to be going back and looking back on in the future.
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't have called it that disappointing looking at it, or a boring fight looking at it. I mean, it's boring in the way that you didn't really get a fight. You didn't really lose 1 minute of that fight either. And I can kind of see what you're saying, where you're saying you got dragged into it, where it seemed to me that you wanted to kind of stand and bang a little bit, but like as she went into the clinch, the takedown was just there for you. And I think like you just have to take those opportunities sometimes when they're presented to you.
Yeah, like she kicked up under, like on top of my shoulder, and her leg was here, and I was like, well, I can't not dump you, and now you've gone and done this. Like I was a bit annoyed with her. I was like, if you kicked a bit better, I wouldn't be able to dump you now. And the minute I dumped her, I was like, oh no, here we go again, back into getting held down by her. Me, she's holding me onto her. So yeah, look, uh, it was a dominant fight, but it wasn't my funnest fight. My funnest fights are when I'm in a fight. I like coming out with a few bangs and bruises, and I know it's been exciting then.
Yeah, and I mean, like in that fight, you said you wanted to be excited and get the finish. Like what I like about you so much is that you are comfortable, you were up in the cards clearly, but you still pushed, and even on the ground when things weren't going your way, and you got that finish, and that's what you kind of want to come in and do every fight, is it?
Yeah, well, I don't think John and Alan would have walked out of the cage with me if I didn't bloody finish that fight. They were determined I was finishing her, so they definitely put the scares under me a little bit in the corner. And yeah, I did not want to go back to the ref and get my hand raised. Like, no way. Like, I really wanted to finish. Like, we train so hard, we cut so much weight, we do all this. And what is it for if you're not finishing people and like putting the hands up to the crowd and feeling class for like whatever those 5 minutes might last for, So that's why I get into fighting, because I like to fight. Winning is great, but I really like to actually fight and feel that adrenaline.
Yeah, you mentioned the crowd there, and you got some pop there when you came out, and there was a serious crowd behind you there as well, and they were there early in the card as well. And assuming that there'll be the bus coming up from Mullingar again for this fight as well. Was it great to be able to do that in front of like all of your fans and the crowd, and having everybody support you and be behind you there?
Yeah, so it's definitely a bit annoying when you're one of the first ones, because you have to like egg everyone on, please be there by like 5:30. So it's a bit more stressful trying to get everyone in on time. But once you're walking, you're like, whoever's here is here. And some of my family and friends, they were only coming up the stairs and the fight had started. So yeah, like, I'm hoping I'm not going to be quite as early in the card this time. But by the time that my fight was over, there was another like couple of thousand people after coming in, and they all went wild for it. So it was great. But going back to the bus from Mullingar, so there's no bus from Mullingar this time, because there was a bit of trouble on the bus on the way home the last time.
Oh, jeez.
So the fella that organised the bus says, I'm not doing that ever again. He's like, I don't care how they get there. The boys were scrapping in the bus, I think.
Oh God, you must have riled everybody up on the bus on the way home. They were getting rowdy, was it?
Well, sure, they were drinking pints from 5:30, so it was my fault for being so early in the prelims, and they weren't on the bus till 12 o'clock. They were all mouldy and mad for scraps, so they were. So that's the end of the bus from Mullingar.
Maybe you'll have to do a bit of bouncing on it yourself, maybe, or something like that, to keep the peace. Like, maybe you can work out something, but hopefully it doesn't affect the crowds that are going to go up to see you again this time. Anyway, I'm sure they'll find another way up.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this fight camp. You said that you were disappointed. What like lessons did you take from the last fight? What did you bring in to this fight camp in order to kind of change things up and maybe have the fight go the way you wanted to go this time against Stephanie?
Yeah, so there was like two big things, one specifically for Stephanie and then one specifically for me. So for Stephanie, it was because she's a striker. We've worked so much on my striking. It's like constant here in this house, of course, with Alan. Like, I'm a far better striker than I show, and I know everyone actually says that, but like, I kick all the time in my spars, and I've thrown like 3 kicks in my entire career, in every single fight added together. So I have so much to show from a striking point of view, and the last 8 weeks it's really, really come together. Like, I'm doing really, really good with that. So I'd be confident to stand and strike with her. I am going to stand and strike with her. And if she ends up, sorry, the dogs, if she ends up will you just give out to them? If she ends up getting herself taken down, that's her own fault, because I'm going in there wanting to strike. I say that now, and I am. And then the second thing was, you know, I spoke to John and spoke to Alan, and I've started working with Kieran Davern as well. And we spoke about wanting to progress the grappling quicker, you know, not to be getting brought back into half guard and full guard, and to get the finish. So for the last 8 weeks, I've been literally taking people down, keeping them down, and trying to smother them into the mat and get the finish. So every single person I go with, I'm not happy until I'm in full mount or on their back and I'm finishing. So it's just not being happy with just getting the takedown now. I'm fueled by that frustration from the last fight, wanting to progress as fast as possible and finish.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there the help of your husband, Alan. I mean, like having his help and just being engrossed in the striking. Like I seen videos of you just doing pads and doing kick exercises in the kitchen and stuff like that. I mean, is that kind of like what it's like every day? Is just whenever you kind of get into it, you could end up doing it in the kitchen or the living room or wherever?
Oh, sure. He'd be clinching around the house if he had the opportunity. Like, you know, he's flat out, like standing up and shadow boxing and imagining things. And I go into like, you know, make my breakfast, and he says he wants to show me this sweep like from the night before, and next thing the two of us are rowing because we're falling into the sides of the cupboards. So, you know, Alan is obsessed with Muay Thai. There's not a Muay Thai fight that he misses. You know, if you want to know any of the top Thai strikers, he's the man to ask. So he is extremely knowledgeable and obsessed. So I can't get away from it in this house. And I'd say 75% of my improvements has been just my knowledge and understanding and watching fights. The fights are constantly on here on the TV. I'm fighting for the MMA fights and he's fighting for the Muay Thai fights. So I can see what good strikers are doing and their control of range and distance and setting people up. So I understand it more now, you know. So I'm hoping that seems to be translating over into my spars as well. So I just needed to translate into my fights, because as my career progresses, I don't want to be known as the grappler. Like, I want to be able to stand and I want to be able to wrestle, and that's how you're going to be the best in the world. You know, no one. There's not that many Khabibs around, and I don't want to be Khabib either. I like hitting people. I like kicking people. So yeah, it's a huge help to have him here. It's been a huge part of my development.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to get a perfect opportunity against someone like Stéphanie Page, because you know she has almost, I think, over 100 kickboxing Muay Thai fights, and I think so. The plan is for you to come in and see where your skills have progressed against someone who's such an astute striker as well. Would that be correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go in and I'm going to strike with her. I know she's not going to take me down, so it's a great night for me. And when the opportunity presents itself, or she decides to start backing herself up, I will go for the takedown and I will do what I'm told from my corner. But I do want to strike with her. You know, I think I can kick her, I can punch her. She doesn't like going backwards. She doesn't like getting hit hard, even though she's a very experienced striker. You know, you can see these things when you watch fights. I get hit hard and I might get dropped, but I stand back up and I walk straight forward again. You know, these things don't bother me. So I feel like if I hit her a few times or got some kicks off, got going, you know, I think I could scare her into backing up and I could try and finish her myself. I'm very confident in that. So it's just a matter of doing it. It's one thing doing it in the gym, but doing it in front of 11,000 people at the Three Arena when your subconscious is saying, take her down, that's the hard part. So
Yeah.
this is my plan.
Like for when you're preparing for a fight, you know, the guys have been talking on the speaker's corner about finding a training balance, and that's finding the balance between the separate set of skills that you have to kind of put together, and then also focusing your attention on your opponent. Are you somebody, when you're preparing for a fight, that likes to do both, or do you just concentrate on yourself and whoever you're fighting is who you're fighting, if you know what I mean?
So I think it depends on what kind of fighter you are. So I'm so diverse. I'm able to do everything. Most of my camps are about me just getting better at doing everything. If the camp has got someone that's a wrestler, then I'm going to spar people that are going to try and take me down. If the girl is a striker, I'm going to spar people that are like strikers and don't want to shoot and have to defend takedowns. In particular, as my career has gone on, we've just really focused on me developing all my skills. At the start of your career, you know, for my first fight, I remember all we did was game plan to how to beat her. But as you get more confident and you believe in yourself more, you realize it doesn't really matter who her is. I just need to keep getting better at what I do, because in all my fights, it's always me. It's what I do. It's not what they do. Now, there's of course a few things that we're planning for her that she does, and to know how to defend certain things or how to react more than anything. But 80 to 90% of the camp is on me, and then the sparring partners are just picked on what she's like.
Yeah, and because there's so many SPG fighters on the card, does it kind of help your preparations in that way, because there's more bodies in the gym and more people wanting to prepare? And like, have you noticed the difference between competing on these Bellator Dublin cards in comparison to maybe getting prepared for other fights when there's not as many fighters fighting on the same card as you?
So it doesn't make a difference for me because I'm so small. So I'm like the second lightest weight in the gym. There's only one person lighter than me, an atom weight girl. Everyone else is bigger. So I don't train with anybody that's on the card whatsoever. We have our own little girl group going, and we just train together. It is nice though, the vibe that's in the gym. So when we came back after Christmas, everyone that signed for Bellator, you know, we're all preparing together, and we're the Facebook pages or Facebook group is blown up with all the spars on it, and we're watching each other spar one week to the other, bringing each other along. So, you know, we support each other greatly. The ones that are fighting together, like especially Kieran Clark and Brian Moore, I'd have a really good relationship with both of them, and Sinead Kavanagh, of course. So, you know, we're all egging each other on. But for me as a strawweight girl, it doesn't matter because I'm still only with my own group regardless.
Yeah. So a win in this fight, and that's obviously what you're going for. Where does that leave you in Bellator? I mean, we spoke the last time about the lack of competition for you at 115 in Bellator. Has there been any talks with Bellator? How many fights do you have left on your contract? I mean, where do you see your future after this fight? I know you recently signed with Paradigm Sports as well, so congratulations on that. I mean, is there any big future plans along with them as well?
Yeah, well, you know, they like blowing smoke up my arse and telling me I'm going to be world champion. So they've got great plans. But you know, the story is I have to win this fight and become 6-0. And when I'm 6-0, myself, Paradigm and Bellator need to have a conversation of what's happening from here. So far, Bellator have just said that they're happy to keep me busy, but there's been no mention about a division or a belt or anything like that. If I was a US fighter, it would be a lot easier to try to have that conversation that, you know, they could try and create a division. But I'm a European fighter, so I'm not really bringing in, you know, the Showtime money for them. So realistically, I don't know what's going to happen. But when I'm 6-0, we need to start having talks, because there's no point kind of going 10-0, 12-0 and not having any goal in mind. I'm going to be 32 in March, like dreadful. So I need to get going at whatever it is. I want to be a world champion. If Bellator are happy to facilitate that, then I'm 100% happy to keep going with them. But realistically, I don't know if that's going to be a thing.
And do you have many fights left on your contract?
One more after this.
One more after this. Okay. And are you thinking about elsewhere if it's not going to happen for you at Bellator, if you want that world championship?
Yeah, like, you know, every fighter in the world wants to be a UFC world champion. You know, they're lying if they don't say that. Bellator has been so good to all of us, and they pay so well and look after us. You know, it's hard to have that conversation, because, you know, you can choose at this point of your career, do you want to keep making money for Bellator? But for me, with having no division, then I feel like I'd be selling my soul for the rest of my career to do that. it's different for like Kieran Clark or Brian Moore. They can still become world champions and be really well looked after in Bellator. But for me, the only division out there or promotion out there for me is the UFC that actually has a division with the best girls in the world. And if I don't fight the best girls in the world, I'll never know how good I could be, you know.
Yeah, that's very honest, and I commend you for that as well. I mean, like that's the difficult decisions that are going to come down the line. But we will focus ahead to Stephanie Page, and I think that's going to be a good fight for you. It's going to be an exciting fight for you as well. You mentioned Sinead. She's fighting on the same card against Leah McCourt. Are you excited to see that fight? It's up there with one of the biggest domestic fights that's happened in Irish MMA history, really, to be honest. Are you excited to see that go down?
Yeah, it's the number one fight to ever happen. It's 100% the number one, because the two girls are ranked so highly in such a, you know, dominant promotion. There's no lads that did what the girls are doing. And, you know, Sinead's after fighting Chris Cyborg. It's huge. It hurt my soul when I first saw the two of them matched. I hated the idea of it, but I've been talking to Sinead and I've seen Leah's interviews, and the two girls are well up for it, and there's nothing personal. So I am very excited to see what happens in the fight. I think it's going to be just such an exciting fight for both girls. You know, it's striker versus grappler, and a striker that can knock you out with one punch, and a grappler that's got like hip tosses from hell. So it's going to be such a fun fight, and it's historic. It is the biggest fight ever in Irish MMA history, you know, in this country. So I can't wait. I'm delighted they're getting the opportunity, and I hope they're getting well paid for it and they get all the publicity they deserve.
Yeah, I think we all kind of felt a little bit weird when it was first announced, but the way both Sinead and Leah have handled themselves throughout the build up to the fight has everybody excited, and it's a competition between two of the best featherweights in the world right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. Do you have a prediction on how the fight might go?
I don't, like, honestly, I know the two girls have sparred, and you know, I know what's been gone on in the spars in the past, and it's still very open. That's all I'll say. You know, it's the longer the fight goes on, it's probably going to go towards Leah. But if Sinead hits her, she goes down. That's the end of the story. So, like, genuinely, I don't know what's going to happen. If both girls turn up the very best versions of themselves, it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, unbelievable fight. I mean, it's the people's main event anyway, that's for sure. I can't wait to see it. The national championships are going on this, like, we're recording this a couple of days before it will come out. They will have gone on by the time this interview has gone out. I know that you're going to be up there for a day or two. How excited are you to see the national championships going down, and how much of a big deal is it to you in the development of the sport in the country?
Yeah, it's unreal and it's so exciting. First of all, the cadets were the first national champions. So sorry to like rain on the amateurs parade, but all the cadets, they were all amateur champions or national champions before Christmas. And we had two national champions, two girls that won both their fights, and they got gold medals. So they're the actual historic ones. But yeah, I was up there today training myself, and I got to watch some fights. And it's so exciting. It's unbelievable. You know, you hear the boxing clubs going on about, oh, this lad was 4-time Irish champion and this whatever. And they just, it's such a big thing for boxing, and we never can say anything like that. You know, I won a fight at Cage Legacy last weekend. That's it. But like saying you're a national champion, it's such a huge accomplishment to do. So it's a huge step in the right direction for Irish MMA, and I hope it does make a difference with regards to the recognition. And there'll be lots more national champions going forward, and it might keep people in the sport if they think they're going to become a national champion instead of fighting in a local, you know, nightclub or whatever it is, and just having a random fight. I think it could draw more attention to the sport.
Yeah, 100% agree, and also opens up opportunities to go and fighting the Europeans and the Worlds and everything like that. And for you, I know you're big into the cadet coaching and stuff like that. Is there big plans for you throughout the year 2022 to get involved more in that? And is there much competitions coming up? And are you going to maybe go into this, help out the seniors as well?
Yeah, well, they've told me that I'm the senior coach of the cadets now, that I'm the head coach. So I don't think they've announced that. So there you go, it's a bit of gossip.
Congratulations.
So unless someone tries to boot me off, that's my job, and I'm keeping that job. The cadets is where my heart lies. I did do some work with some of the girls that were going to Prague there a few months ago, but it was a small group and we didn't have great attendance, and they didn't particularly get on very well at the time either. So I haven't had as much success with the ladies. The ladies are a bit more difficult to handle than the juniors, but I'm really committed with the juniors, and I will see about developing the ladies. I'm kind of in two minds what's going to happen with that. I think probably the lady cadets, or the girls and the cadets and the ladies, need to all join together and make it like a big team as such for the female side. But the juniors are just class. Like, they're ridiculous. If you see the 12 and 13-year-olds like over at the Cadet World Championships, I just know I'm going to be so happy I'm retired when they come around, to the pro ranks. They're just unbelievable. And the fact that there's no headshots, it makes it even better, because they're not afraid, and it makes them so technical without taking any damage. So I'm big advocate for cadets.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and they'll definitely be in good hands if you're taking charge of them as well. And if anybody tries to take that job from you, you can send the bus from Mullingar boys after them, and they'll sort them out. But look, I won't keep you too much longer, Danny. I really appreciate the time. Look, at next week, Friday, February 25th, Stephanie Page. Anyone who's going to tune in, better tune in. You're on the undercard section, but it's not quite sure what part of the card you're under yet.
I don't know. On Tapology it says I'm on early, but I don't think that's like the correct card. I'll know on fight week what the card is. We'll know on Monday what's going on, or you'll probably know before we do. But if you don't have your tickets already, everyone, seriously, you gotta go. This is going to be huge. Peter Creeley's on it, so you got the big walkout. You got Lee and Sinead there at the top of the card, and Brian Moore, never gets to fight in Ireland, so it's could be only the one time off to get to see Brian live. So you got to get your tickets, guys. You got to go to the 3 Arena, and make sure to follow me on Instagram. Very important.
And make sure you tune in early and see Danny and Stephanie too. It's going to be an absolute barn burner. And I guess what can fans expect to see in that fight, Danny, in your fight?
Expect to see striking. So I'm going to stand. I'm going to strike, and don't be surprised if it's finished on the feet either.
Perfect. And I see on Instagram you have a new nickname coming into this fight. Is it Mac? You will have to come out to a bit of Mark Morrison now, return of the Mac, will you?
Yeah, it's mad. When I was riding horses years ago, I had this rescue horse from the ISPCA. He was an absolute weapon. He was a Ferrari, and I won so much stuff on this horse, and he was called Mac, and an absolute legend. Like, literally all my credentials came from that horse. And when he died, I was like, I'm gone out of this industry now, because without him, I'm fucked. So I always says to Alan, geez, if we had a child, we should call them Mac McCormack and name him after my horse. And then someone Instagrammed me and says Danni Mac after I got married. And I was like, there it is. Got it. I don't need to name the child now. I hadn't even thought of it myself. Maeve Foley, she's a medic actually at the Nationals this weekend. She messaged me Danni Mac, so she owns the nickname now, and I was like 100% taking it. It's got a good ring to it.
Savage. All right, Danny, before you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, any sponsors or anything like that?
Yeah, big thanks to ROS Nutrition for sponsoring me always. Base Computers, NDC, Anisha O'Brien, the Santry Sports Clinic. I've got an amazing strength conditioning coach and a physio in there that look after me so good, Tommy and Sam. And that's kind of it. And anyone around the Midlands, join our gym, join Relentless Martial Arts. especially if you've got children. We love the kids. Drop them off for the hour. You won't be disappointed.
Nice. And where can everybody find you on social media, Danni?
So Danni Nealon on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, wherever, but Instagram, I suppose, is what I'm mostly on. And then if you follow the gym, Relentless Martial Arts on Instagram as well.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for taking the time, and all the best to you. I'm really looking forward to seeing you getting in there and fighting again. I'm looking forward to seeing a good striking battle, and all the best to you. And thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today, Danni.
Deadly. Thanks so much, Ian. I appreciate it. And well done with the new podcast as well. I really like it, the Irish one.
Very good. The Owl Triangle. Check that out on Severe MMA YouTube and all podcast forums as well. And maybe you'll come on for as a guest sometime as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll be running it soon. Don't worry.
Lovely job. You can take my spot as one of the co-hosts. No problem at all. Anyway, thanks very much, Danni, and all the best to you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Deadly. Thanks, Ian.